Oh, hello, hello. And it says I am live. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Yes, it's wonderful to see you all again. I'm just going to check notifications. I hope you're all doing well on this wonderful Wednesday. Let's see what says I'm live. Again, as always, double check that volume.
I hope you're
Yes,
all doing well on this
that's fabulous.
Wednesday.
And again, regardless of what the weather is, and boy, are we getting some weather here at my palatial estate in Collingwood, Ontario, Canada. Again, I'm about 2 hours north of Toronto. And yes, we're getting quite the weather here today. So let's just stay inside and sew. There's always lots of sewing to do. Lovely. And my sister Deb is here. Hello, hello. I hope everyone is doing well and staying nice and safe and nice and warm. And again, today I've got more little tips and tricks to share the Janome love with you, regardless of where you are in the world. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining me today. My name is Michael Smith, the National Education Manager of Janome Canada. And yes, I'm back to share some ruler quilting tips and tricks for you. So yes, ruler quilting has become such a popular technique. And what is ruler quilting? Well, I always suggest when we go any new technique, let's start small, like a placemat, for example. Let's start on a smaller project. Ruler quilting, let's get it nice and close. Look at all those shapes, these kind of teardrop shapes. Here we can do straight, I'm backwards, straight lines with rulers, or these, we call them rulers, but they're really templates, this whole teardrop shape. And you'll see a little closer here, and it goes around and around in this circle. You can see a lot. Look at all that dimension on the back side. So we can do all of our quilting with our regular sewing machine. We don't have to send it out to a long arm or don't have to invest in a big long arm quilting machine. We can do the ruler quilting ourselves. But again, let's start small with a placemat. And where do we find inspiration? Well, anywhere. This, for example, all done by ruler quilting, straight lines. So yes, you could be using this with their AccuFeed flex foot, your dual feed foot, even feed foot, all with straight lines. But you know, to do all of this with one of those feet, though, we're stitching, stopping in the corner, pivoting with our needle in the fabric, and then we turn the fabric and we stitch, down another straight line, stop, needle down, raise the foot, pivot, stitch. That's a lot of twisting and turning of your fabric. Whereas with ruler quilting, we're going to drop the feed dogs in the machine or cover them, and we're not going to have the feed dogs in play, so we can move in any directions. It's a very fast, easy way, even with straight lines, very fast, easy way to do the quilting. Now, quilting inspiration is anywhere. This is actually the wallpaper of the washroom that I stayed in hotels. I travel a lot for work, and I was traveling and was in the bathroom there getting all my stuff ready and went, hey, this reminds me of quilting, all this straight lines. I took a picture of it. This is a photocopy of that wallpaper, put it down on my fabric and stitched through it actually as my template and using the ruler to guide me. So ruler quilting can be anywhere, but a great place to start. Let's flip around and share more. A great place to start is, of course, with your fabulous Janome dealer. You go to the store and you get many of the items here I'm going to share with you. Now, I'm sewing on the CM17 again here today, but any of these ruler quilting techniques, this recipe of all the items you need are available for any Janome sewing machine in general. The Janome 6-piece ruler work kit is a great place to start. This has been prepared for you all, and when we talk about rulers, again, you see there's many different shapes. We call them rulers, but they're more like templates. Here they are, some more shapes. All of this is in this, in my case, very worn instructions, but it is the Janome 6-piece ruler work kit here available from your Janome dealer. It was designed by Leonie West from Westerly, and she created all of these beautiful rulers, all these beautiful templates. There she is there. There is an instructional DVD included, and for those who don't have the CD reader, it's a digital download now, and she shows you from basic marking your your fabric, look what you can do. So she guides you step by step. All you need basically is fabric. Chances are you have some. And you make this adorable bag. Now look at there with the hearts and all of these little shapes that we create, again, with these various rulers or templates. And we can turn them all, twist them all to create different shapes. It is so cool. So this ruler bag, ooh, there we go. Ruler bag, again, all the pockets to keep all of our rulers and all of the templates. And again, DVD included for those who have it. If not, there's a digital download. And again, rulers there. This is what's created to make the heart. Would you believe it? Little grip dots included in the kit, so our templates don't move on our fabric. Everything you need included. So it was a really fun. This was my very first ruler work project myself. And it was a really, really fun exercise to do. And when we start with the basics, and then we go from there. So the 6-piece ruler kit is great to provide the rulers and the templates. Ooh. And then, so what do we need for our machine? Well, basically to set up your machine, again, any Janome machine is pretty much capable of doing this. We just need to drop our feed dogs, however you do. Boom. Here on my CM17, I can drop my feed dogs and my LCD screen tells me now we can use that PDH darning foot, which is like the hopping foot, the darning foot, because my feed dogs are out of play. When we drop the feed dogs, the stitch length really doesn't matter because we are the stitch regulator. So all we need to do is drop our feed dogs. Now here in the CM17 and some of our more sophisticated machines, why do we upgrade to these fancier machines? Oh, well, I can go in my home and then I can go to sewing applications. And sewing applications is basically the machine saying, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to do ruler quilting. So we go into our quilting category here, ruler work, and boom, the machine is already set up for me. My feed dogs are dropped, and I have some presets based on the height of my foot. The ruler work foot, in this case, the QR foot that it's recommending I use. We want to hover the ruler foot over our fabric. So if my finger was the foot and my thumb is the fabric, it's just going to hover over it. We don't want it too low. We don't want it too high. We can select based on the height of our foot. Do we have batting, for example, lightweight batting, any kind of batting in between, flannel maybe. So the foot here, 1.5, is closer to our fabric. We have a medium weight, 80-20 batting, maybe wool batting, fluffy polyester batting, 2 layers of batting. The foot is going to be a little higher to accommodate that extra thickness, 2.5 in this case, millimeters above my fabric, but we can always go in and refine it as well. So sewing applications definitely makes it really easy, but if you don't have sewing applications, you can adjust your ruler foot, and I'll get into that in just a minute. So when we're talking about the recipe for ruler quilting, the first place we want to start is down here in our needle area. So we recommend, Janome recommends for free motion quilting for ruler work, we want that straight stitch needle plate with that center hole. We're just going to stitch with a straight stitch. So we don't need the zigzag needle plate. We don't want the fabric, you know, to mash down in the zigzag opening there. So here on my CM17, have you all seen this? Boom. All of our Continental machines, this on-screen needle plate removal. Isn't that wonderful? So again, we switch out the zigzag needle plate for a straight stitch needle plate. So double check your machine either came with one, or double check with your Janome dealer if there's a straight stitch needle plate for your machine. There is for the majority of machines. Now, before I pop in my needle plate here, I'm going to switch out my bobbin holder. This is something else Janome recommends as part of the recipe. So straight stitch needle plate is one thing. The bobbin holder, do you see down here, it says 10 grams. Our average bobbin holder, standard bobbin holder for all machines, sometimes there's a little red dot here, so we'll call it a red dot bobbin holder. But because the Continental machines are very special, we don't have a red dot here. Instead, Janome's putting the gram weight, the bobbin weight thread here, 10 gram. How much tension is on that bobbin thread? 10 grams is standard. We're going to replace this for our free motion quilting and ruler quilting. Now, we may be familiar with 20 grams, those of us with embroidery machines here. And again, typically it's a little yellow dot here, a little yellow triangle. But in the Continental machines, it's white. So instead, Janome's printing, again, 20 grams. This has a higher tension on that bobbin thread. It's going to pull those needle threads to the back, so we don't see the bobbin thread on the top. So this is typically the 20 gram or yellow dot bobbin holder, is typically called the embroidery bobbin holder. Well, we don't want to use that either. For ruler quilting, free motion quilting, we want to use the bobbin holder. It's got a little blue dot, or it's technically called the low tension bobbin holder. Now, in this case, for our Continental machines, CM17, Continental M7, the Quilter's special edition of the Continental M7, Continental M8, and Continental M6. We need one specifically for our machine. There are these low tension blue dot bobbin holders for almost every machine out there. And it's got a little blue dot there. And again, it's 8 grams. It has less tension on it than our standard 10 gram bobbin holder. The reason being is that, again, we want less tension on this bobbin thread. So as we're doing free motion quilting and ruler quilting, moving in any direction, we're getting less tension on that bobbin thread, so it's not pulling our needle threads to the back. We don't want that, especially if we're ruler quilting and free motion quilting, where a lot of people typically go fast in the corners. So this blue dot bobbin holder will help reduce the eyelashing and the bird's nesting that can happen on the back side. We want the needle threads and the bobbin threads to intersect like this more readily in the quilt sandwich, with my backing, my batting in between, any batting, doesn't matter, and then the top. So the low tension blue dot bobbin holder will help eliminate that eyelashing and bird's nesting on the backside. So that is wonderful. Now, do you see this little black thumb here of the bobbin holder? I'm going to make sure to put that right behind this metal finger that's down in my bobbin area. And there's this little triangle here that matches up with the little triangles of our bobbin holders. And this little metal stopper is going to go right in front of this black little thumb here on the bobbin holder. We want to make sure these lay nice and flat. And in fact, I always put my finger down like this. It's locked into place, so I know it's not moving. Oh, and before I do that, just as a quick little tip, get your little brush out. Since you're changing your bobbin holder anyway, now is a great time. Get in there, clean out the lint in your bobbin area while you're changing out your holder. So that is good. So again, locked in place. I know that's not moving anywhere because that little black thumb is behind that metal finger. Now you can go double check the Janome Life blog. We did lots of blogs about free motion quilting, ruler quilting, all about machine maintenance. You can go on Janome HQ YouTube channel, Janome America YouTube channel. We go and cover this a lot. So lovely. Oh, Becky here. Yes, wonderful. It is great to see you. I love, again, we'll be at, here in Canada, we'll be at Quilt Canada in Mississauga this June. So we would love to meet you all. I love when we work shows. There's not as many in Canada anymore, but I love when we work shows and dealer events so we can connect with you all in person. So again, recipe, straight stitch needle plate, low tension blue dot bobbin holder. Make sure you get the correct one for your machine. The needle next, with my fabulous needle little felt basket I made the other week here in the Facebook lives. You can scroll back to the feed or go on to our respective YouTube channels. Janome needles, there's so many different types. Well, the purple tip needle is a size 14. This is our free motion quilting, ruler quilting Yes, exactly. Quilting size 14 needle. What can I do? So, if you're getting shredding, specifically if you're using your free motion quilting or ruler quilting and your thread is shredding, it could be that your fabric is, your needle is too high, your foot is too high, your fabric is bouncing up and down, or conversely the foot is too close to the fabric, and I'll go over that in just a minute. But the purple tip needles, why we want to use size 14, it's the same size as our red tip, but look at this giant needle. The purple tip size 14, and why they're good to eliminate shredding of thread, and they eliminate skip stitches right before the eye of the needle. It flares out. So it comes up from the tip, and just before the eye, it flares out. We call it a cobra head because it flares out like a cobra head, a snake, and that separates the fibers of the fabric. So the needle thread can intersect with the bobbin thread right in the middle of the sandwich, which is where it wants. It spreads the fibers of the fabric, especially when we get in these thicker layers. That reduces the tension on the thread. It's not pulling against all this cotton fabric and cotton batting. It just makes a little bit bigger space so that needle thread and bobbin thread can intersect more readily. So it's going to reduce your shredding of thread as well. So really, really good to have. Purple tip needles eliminate, again, the eyelashing, the bird's nesting, and the skip stitches. So you can never have enough of those. So that's the other part of our recipe. And the last part, of course, is the dedicated ruler work foot. Now here on my CM17 and many of our higher end machines, we have the QR ruler foot. There's a little divot in the front where we can see the needle. But the most important thing is this higher profile. When we get these rulers and templates butted up against the foot, we're going to follow this shape, for example, follow this shape. So we need this higher profile foot so the template doesn't jump over. When I first, was introduced to ruler quilting, I thought, oh, well, I'm a pro. I've been sewing for 30 years. I'll just use my regular foot. Well, as we put pressure on these templates, they can easily jump over a regular foot and hit the needle. You do not want to do that. So straight stitch needle plate, low tension bobbin holder, 1/4 of an inch thick ruler work foot, purple tip needle. Those are our basics for ruler quilting recipe. Now here in my high shank machine of my CM17, I'm using the high shank 6-piece ruler work kit. There is a 6-piece ruler work kit for low shank machines. So make sure you get the correct rulers for your machine. So that is very important. So again, the ruler doesn't jump over the foot. Now, if you don't happen to have a QR ruler foot, you have another kind of machine. Well, now Janome has a ruler work kit for virtually every machine. So here, the 1/4 of an inch ruler work foot high shank for 7 and 9 millimeter machines. So this is an option for you. Full instructions in the blister pack as well. So as this attaches to the regular foot holder of my high shank 9 millimeter or 7 millimeter machine, it has this screw here. And this is what's going to help us raise or lower this foot. So if we're getting shredding, for example, of thread, maybe the foot is too low to our fabric and we've really got to pull the fabric, that's going to shred our thread. So we can adjust this screw and it will raise the foot. Now, conversely, if our foot is too high above our fabric, we'll see as we stitch along, the fabric will start bunching up and down. The needle will pull the fabric up. That will also contribute to shredding of thread. So we want this foot to be raised or lowered just enough. It hovers over the fabric so we can move our project in any direction. It really works good. So there is a high shank version of this 1/4 of an inch thick ruler work foot, again with that little divot so we can see the needle great. Or we've got a low shank version of it. And even for the high speed straight stitch, 1600p HD9, This is for the machine. We can't drop the feed dog of that machine or those machines, but this has got an extra thick needle plate that bypasses the feed dog. So even our dedicated straight stitch machine, where we can't drop the feed dogs, we can use this 1/4 of an inch ruler work foot. So again, for virtually every machine out there. Now, what if you have a machine, you have the convertible free motion foot set. In machines, you have a presser foot lift here at the back. You don't have an automated presser foot lift. Yours is just manual. You have this already. You see that spring? It's that same spring as the 1/4 of an inch foot ruler work foot. But these feet, you do not want to use these feet included with the convertible free motion foot set with ruler work. What you need is the free motion frame foot set. There are 2 feet that come with this blister pack. And you see, one is the open toe and this is the closed toe. We're going to remove the little screw in the back and put this foot on, our convertible free motion quilting foot, like that. So this could be our ruler work foot. So if you have a machine that already has this convertible free motion quilting foot set here, you just need the frame foot portion to get this 1/4 of an inch thick foot to safely do ruler work. So again, we can adapt a machine we already have, or we or adapt it to the ruler work foot. Or then again, we can get a high shank or low shank 1/4 of an inch thick ruler work foot. It works out so beautifully. So again, another thing we could do for our ruler work here to make it easier, I want to make sure to put in a full bobbin here. Boom. Another product we could get from our fabulous Janome dealer, this So Steady free motion glider. Now what this is a big sheet of Teflon. And we just lay this down. It's got a hole so we can see the hole of our needle plate. And it's not really sticky. It's a cling type surface that we can just, it's just like a static cling. So no stickiness. It doesn't gum up our bed of our machine. And we lay down this glider. It's just nice and slick. So that'll help us move the fabric. Now, something else I personally love, these are called Machinger gloves. They've got a little grippy surface here on the fingertips. So double check with your Janome dealer. Do they have these gloves? There's many different brands of gloves that have these little sticky fingertips, and then you don't have to worry about your manicure either. But what is great about those sticky fingertips is, again, it helps you move your fabric because then we're going to move our fabric. And when we, again, start with a small project, this is a cute little trivet that I made, again, the other week with that string quilting technique. So here to quilt our trivet, yes, I use the circular sewing attachment out here, but to quilt in the center, I'm using one of the shapes. It's the simple pointed oval included in the 6-piece Janome ruler kit. And you see there's vertical marks here, registration marks here. There's some 45-degree marks here and here, some horizontal marks here and here. So again, the rulers, the templates, they have all the markings for you. They have all the instructions included for you. All you have to do is just follow it. It's so simple. So in this case, this little trivet, what I did was mark my fabric just very easily, north, south, east, and west. And then I took this ruler, boom, and I just pivoted, stitched all around, and I'll demo in just a minute, stitched all around like this. And then I just moved my ruler, or moved my fabric underneath. Again, boom, boom, boom. Turn, boom, boom, boom. It's so simple. So again, a small little project. Look at that. Cute little stitching. this little floret kind of thing. And on the back, beautiful. No buildup of stitches. Again, no birds nesting, no eyelashing. Because of that low tension blue dot bobbin holder and that purple tip needle. Now, when we drop our feed dogs, again, we are the stitch regulator. So we want to basically move, have a higher speed of our machine, but move your hands slower. I find a lot of times people do the opposite. They stitch really slow, but they move their fabric way too fast. So instead, we're going to do the opposite. And I started, here is my string quilt, again, that we worked on a few weeks ago. And I made it, this is going to be a pillow top. So I don't have any backing fabric. If this were your quilt, you'd have a backing piece that's slightly bigger than your batting, which is slightly bigger than your top. This is going to be a pillow, so I didn't worry about having the fabric on the back. Now, when we get that Janome 6-piece ruler kit, that's a great place to start, but there's more rulers from the So Comfortable line here. So this is a bigger template. And what I've done here is I sprayed with some of our spray adhesive, many different brands. I've sprayed the back of it. So it's actually sticky. So it will help me grip my fabric. So in this case, I have marked my fabric very minimally. With the 6-piece ruler kit includes this fabulous marking template. Do you see, with like north and south, east and west, as well as these 45 degrees, this center hole. We're not going to stitch through this. We're going to mark our fabric with this. So very quickly, because again, time is my enemy. So we position this marker right here in the center, and then with whatever kind of marking tool that will fit in these grooves. You see, then I bring my marking tool down here. Now here I have a seam line, so I don't really need to mark that. But we're just going to mark these lines on our fabric. That's all the marking we need to do. They are registration lines, as you'll see, my blue registration line there. So when I position my template here, for example, then all I'm going to do is just follow the ruler around, follow my ruler around this template. I have horizontal registration lines of my template, vertical registration lines of my template. And basically for ruler quilting, what we need to remember from the distance to the edge of the foot to the needle is 1/4 of an inch. And again, all of the rulers and templates have been designed with that in mind. They're so simple. All we do is just follow it. So here I'm going to start. We have a 1-stitch stop capability in many of our machines. We don't have to use it, but I really like to do it because then we take that 1 stitch and we bring up our bobbin thread. Now, if your machine doesn't have the automatic needle 1-stitch stop, again, all you do is just drop your needle down to take 1 stitch to, again, bring up, if I can pull it. If I can pull it, pull my bobbin thread up. Of course, it's being difficult since I'm live with these tweezers. Can I get it? Normally, again, I can get it with my tweezers. We pull up our bobbin thread. So again, that way, maybe I need new tweezers. Oh, geez, normally I can pull it. I won't worry about pulling it. Normally I pull it up, and then that way we don't have to worry about any sort of like nesting, thread nesting at the bottom. For time's sake, I won't worry about it. But normally I like to do that. So again, I have my gloves on to help me move my fabric, my slider underneath to help me move my fabric in any direction. And again, with our feed dogs down, we become the stitch regulator. So we want to have the speed of our machine fairly fast, but then we move our hands slower, particularly around curves. Since we are the stitch regulator, again, we want to try to get that sweet spot, as we call it. Now, I finished. So all I have to do is lift up my template. And since I have the glue on it, it's quite sticky, the spray adhesive, but that really helps. So I don't have to pivot I don't have to raise my foot to pivot my fabric. I just swirl it around here. And again, I have these horizontal registration lines, vertical registration lines that I marked on my fabric, and they coincide with the markings that are on my ruler or my template here. So again, we want to go a little faster with the machine. Now, this is a perfect place. Stop, breathe, relax your shoulders. And as you'll see, my hands are on the ruler and on the fabric. We're moving both at the same time, but my hands are in very close proximity to the needle. I don't want to be stitching with my hands way over here or way down here. I want to keep them kind of centered around the needle. We'll definitely get much more accurate results. And again, no need to pivot or raise my foot, because again, it just hovers over the fabric. And again, line up those registration lines, line up the registration lines. It works so good. It is so fun. As always, I could spend all day doing this. Time is my enemy. Now, we have done many live presentations, and we've done many Janome Life blogs. Again, there are many videos on our respective YouTube channels, Janome HQ and Janome America YouTube. Also check out Janome England, Janome UK, Janome Australia for their videos. Again, all about ruler quilting. This presentation was basically the basics to get us started. Everything you need, basically, you can get from your Janome dealer. So let me just cut this off and remove this template. And again, even with that spray adhesive, I could still see my registration lines on my ruler. And why I love, again, the So Comfortable rulers and the Janome 6-piece ruler kit, all the work is done for you. And with my mini duckling scissors, I can't sew without them. They're so good to use. And especially here for our ruler, you see, I can get right down in my fabric. Now, even on my batting, look at that middle. It's beautiful. There's not a big buildup of thread. There's no skip stitches. There's no eyelashing because of that low tension bobbin holder, because of the purple tip needle. I'm using any thread. Now, I personally love using the shinier polyester thread. Again, this is typically, oh, this is embroidery thread. This thread could be whatever kind of thread you want. I love it for decorative stitches and ruler quilting. So this is our Iris neon bright polyester thread. We've got Janome polyester thread, Madeira polyester thread. Check what threads your Janome dealer has. And look, how beautiful is that? This whole little floral design. Now, again, consistency. We are the stitch regulator. Yes, my CM17 has a stitch regulator. Continental M8, 9480 has a stitch regulator. Most of our machines do not, though. So that's why I'm not demoing it now. But you'll see my stitches. They're actually really good. I'm not an expert in ruler quilting, like the fabulous Kate Quinn, for example, has done many lives and videos about ruler quilting. Janome America educator Kate Quinn has done lots, but look at that. That's pretty good. I get a little smaller stitches here because as I go into the corner, I do slow down so I can get my needle exactly in that point. That's where, again, stop, breathe, readjust my shoulders, and then I go again. But my stitches are really good. It's fine if they're a little bigger. Just make sure they're consistently bigger. That's all we're trying to do. So overall, for again, practice, do a smaller thing like this little pillow cover with our string quilt. Beautiful. Now these markings, make sure that you mark your fabric with something that will disappear or it can wash away. But that's all. I marked my fabric with those registration lines, that crosshairs template. Again, all I did was mark those lines, and then with the Spin Effects rulers, there's one included with there's several included in a 6-piece ruler kit that you can spin all around, or then again, they're available separately in different sizes from the So Comfortable line. So double check the accessory guide in the various Janome websites, respective Janome websites, and double check with your Janome dealer. Now, when we get into doing these straight lines, very quickly, The good thing about our high shank machines here, we can use things like the So Comfortable ditch ruler. This is a generous 1/4 of an inch thick. We want to make sure to use the correct rulers for our machine. So don't use your rotary cutting rulers. Again, the 6-piece ruler kit comes in high shank and low shank. But for our high shank 9mm and 7mm machines, we can use these, 1/4 of an inch thick long arm rulers. They will easily fit. They're actually a little bigger than a 1/4 of an inch, but they'll fit around the back of our shank, no problem with high shank. So what I love about this ditch quilting typically is, again, we're stitching in the well of the seam, but as we're starting new, we don't want to necessarily stitch in the ditch because, again, the tendency, we're using the ruler to guide us, but again, we can wobble. Do you see a little bit of my white thread on my green fabric? We can wobble a little bit. That's not bad at all. But instead, if you're a beginner of ruler quilting, I like to do this instead. Instead of stitching with our needle in the well of that seam, we butt up the ruler with that seam. But now, again, remember, the distance from the edge of the foot to the needle is a 1/4 of an inch. So now I'm actually going to be stitching a 1/4 of an inch away from my piecing. And I won't worry about that one stitch stop right here. And you see with this ditch quilting ruler, how it just snugs right up against the foot. Now here, I need to stop and reposition my ruler. So definitely stop with the needle down. You slide your ruler. Again, I'm keeping it in line with my fabric here, with my piecing. And then again, that's the edge of my foot riding up against the ruler. So we need to move the ruler down, but you see my hands are still going to be up here, safely moving my ruler and my fabric at the same time. If I'm quilting and, my ruler's way down here and my hands are way up here, there's no way that ruler's going to stay straight. We want to make sure, like there, my hands are supporting the ruler, supporting the fabric. And we're just trying to do a consistent speed of the machine with a consistent speed of our hands. Nothing too fast, nothing too slow. Now, when I get to the edge here, this is the fun thing about ruler quilting. I don't even have to move my fabric, really. I can just travel along the edge. This is where it's great having bigger backing and bigger batting. I can travel along the edge because this is going to get caught in binding, for example. So now I can, travel in the ditch along here wherever I need to go. Or I can just spin my fabric around. And if I wanted to go back in here to fill in, you'll see my beautiful straight lines. If I wanted to go back in here and even do free motion quilting, as I just quickly do, we don't even really have to change our foot. We can still see we do have free motion quilting feet. But the cool thing is with the design of the ruler feet, now again, I'm not great at free motion quilting necessarily, but this is how we can play and experiment. So there we go, as I'm practicing some feathers. And again, we can totally switch. Stitching looks beautiful on that same side. So again, there's so much we can do with our ruler quilting, but when we're getting into, again, ditch quilting, I like just to offset that 1/4 of an inch. And the fun thing about this ruler in particular, again, remember each of these lines is a 1/4 of an inch. So if you wanted to quilt, in this case, it's a 1/4 of an inch from the edge. I want to quilt, maybe 3/4 of an inch from the edge. So I line up my ruler, that's a 1/4 of an inch, another 1/4 of an inch is a 1/2 inch. From the edge of my foot to my needle is another 1/4. So now my stitching would be 3/8 of an inch, or 3/4, 3/4 from the edge of my fabric. So again, so much. So now you can you don't have to mark your fabric at all. You're using the lines of the ruler to guide you. So there, as usual, I could just go on and on and on. Ruler quilting is such a fun technique to use once you get the correct recipe. The world is your oyster as far as all the fun quilting things that you can do. And again, start small to learn the techniques. And then again, woo, that whole new world of creativity is at your fingertips. So double check with your Janome dealer for all the little products that I mentioned. They make the world of difference for your results. So thank you everyone so much for your time and patience. Thank you for staying with me. And I will see you all next week. So have a very fabulous rest of the week and the weekend. Thank you so much. Bye.